The first wave hit the beach at 9 in the morning. By 9:15, the attack had stalled. The beach at Iwo Jima was volcanic ash so soft that men sank to their ankles with every step. Behind the beach was a terrace, and behind the terrace was a landscape of ridges, caves, and bunkers that had been under construction for 9 months. Inside those bunkers, 21,000 Japanese soldiers had been ordered not to retreat and not to surrender. What followed over the next 36 days was the most costly battle in the history of the United States Marine Corps, a single island, 8 miles square, defended by an underground fortress, and held at a cost that shocked even a country that had become accustomed to Pacific casualty lists. On the 19th of February, 1945, approximately 70,000 United States Marines landed on Iwo Jima, a volcanic island in the Bonin chain approximately 800 miles south of Tokyo. The island had one strategic purpose. It sat almost exactly halfway between the B-29 airfields on Saipan and Tinian and Japan itself. Japanese fighters based on Iwo Jima were intercepting American bombing raids. If the island were captured, it would provide an emergency landing field for crippled B-29s returning from Japan, fighter escort range for escort missions, and a staging base for future operations. The Joint Chiefs estimated the battle would last 10 days. Some staff officers said 5. The Japanese commander on the island, Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, had spent 9 months converting Iwo Jima into what may have been the most formidable defensive position the Americans encountered in the Pacific. He had constructed 11 miles of tunnels beneath the island, connecting over 1,500 fortified positions, machine gun nests, mortar pits, artillery emplacements, and command posts sited to provide interlocking fields of fire at every possible approach. He explicitly rejected banzai charges, suicidal frontal attacks that had cost Japan enormous casualties elsewhere without inflicting equivalent American losses. Instead, Kuribayashi planned a war of attrition, make the Americans pay the highest possible cost for every yard, force them to dig out each position individually, and kill as many Marines as possible before the island fell. The island would fall. Kuribayashi knew it. His objective was to make falling costly enough to influence American political will. The preparatory naval and air bombardment that preceded the landing had lasted 72 days in total and achieved less than planners had hoped. The island's underground construction meant that bombs and shells could destroy surface positions but could not reach the network beneath. When the bombardment lifted and the first waves went ashore, Japanese forces held their fire almost completely until the beach was crowded. Then the volume of fire that opened from the ridge lines and hidden bunkers was described by survivors as unlike anything encountered in previous Pacific campaigns. The first major objective was Mount Suribachi, the dormant volcano at the southern tip of the island. 4 days of fighting through fortified positions in the soft ash and volcanic rock brought the 28th Marines to the summit on February 23rd. Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal photographed 6 Marines raising an American flag on the summit. The image was transmitted back to the United States and became the most reproduced photograph of the war, a symbol of American determination that the War Department immediately recognized as a recruiting and bond sales tool. 3 of the 6 men in the photograph would be dead within the month. Taking Suribachi did not end the battle. The north of the island was worse. The terrain was a maze of ridges and ravines, terrain given names like Meat Grinder, the Amphitheater, Turkey Knob, and Hill 382, where Japanese defenders in interconnected tunnels could survive artillery bombardment, wait for Marines to approach, and then reoccupy positions that had been cleared the day before. Progress was measured in yards. Casualties mounted faster than they could be evacuated. The 4th and 5th Marine Divisions were essentially destroyed as effective combat organizations by the battle's end. The 3rd Division had been committed as a reserve and was itself badly mauled. Iwo Jima was declared secure on March 26, 1945, 36 days. Of the 21,000 Japanese defenders, fewer than 220 survived, mostly as prisoners. American casualties were 6,821 killed and approximately 19,000 wounded, the only battle in the Pacific where American casualties exceeded Japanese. Admiral Chester Nimitz said of the Marines who fought there, "Uncommon valor was a common virtue." The phrase became the battle's epitaph. The strategic return on those casualties remains a subject of historical debate. Approximately 2,400 B-29s made emergency landings on Iwo Jima's captured airfields before the war ended. Whether those landings saved more lives than the battle cost in Marine dead is a calculation historians continue to contest. What is not debated is what Kuribayashi accomplished. His defensive plan, followed to the end by nearly every Japanese soldier on the island, demonstrated to American planners exactly what an invasion of the Japanese home islands would cost. The casualty estimates for Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of Kyushu, began at 250,000 American casualties and were revised upward from there. Every meeting in which those numbers were discussed took place in the shadow of Iwo Jima. The American flag raised on Mount Suribachi became the most recognized image of the war. The battle it came from remained, for the men who fought it, less a symbol than a fact. 36 days of fighting for ground that offered almost no cover, against defenders who could not be forced out and would not come out willingly, at a cost that left the Marine Corps permanently scarred. 3 of the 6 men in the flag photograph were dead within weeks. The other 3 came home and spent the rest of their lives explaining what Iwo Jima was. The island is now Japanese territory. The airfields are a Japan Air Self-Defense Force base. The volcanic ash is still there.